To start off our discussion about the best rivalry in college football between Texas and Oklahoma, in my opinion, we're going to talk about the underdogs here, the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, led by true freshman quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. Now, both Oklahoma and Texas have had pretty successful starts to their SEC careers, and going into the year, a lot of the discussion was that, especially for Oklahoma, that they're not really going to be ready for the SEC. That's a whole new thing other than the Big 12, right? And I just hadn't really bought into the Texas being far greater than Oklahoma, just because consistently Oklahoma has been a part of Texas, and they had the second best record in the Big 12 last year. Oklahoma State just got in the championship because they had a better conference record in the Big 12. And then Oklahoma State ultimately lost to Texas, and there was an argument that, hey, the Sooners beat Texas early in the year. Why couldn't they beat the Longhorns again if they had played them in the championship? So the Sooners, there were some people saying that they could have made the playoffs last year, and I understand where it's coming from, but ultimately they didn't. So, we can't talk about what didn't happen. But for the Sooners, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, especially for their wide receiver core. I believe their top 5 wide receivers have dealt with injury all year, and that's been a big part in Jackson Arnold's struggles and having to move on from him to a new quarterback. And their defense, which has for so long, especially under Lincoln Riley, been the biggest flaw for Oklahoma. They would always have a good offense, and then the defense would leave a lot to be desired, and they would get into shootouts, and sometimes they would win, sometimes they would lose, but it wasn't very sustainable. But this year, their defense has been really good. Danny Sussman returned, and he's been a great leader on that team. He could have been a first-round pick last year, and he continued to stick with the team, and he's balling out. Billy Bowman, they've got a lot of guys on this defense. So I think Oklahoma has a very good defense that they held Tennessee to their lowest points of the season up to that point. And sure, they lost to Tennessee, but the defense kept them in that game. There were a lot of opportunities where Tennessee should have scored a lot more than they did, but the Sooners' defense was able to hold them, especially in the first half, because Jackson Arnold had 3 turnovers. And in the first quarter especially, we gave them the ball. The Sooners gave them the ball on their half, and Tennessee wasn't able to score. They scored 1 touchdown on those drives. So this Sooners defense is really good, and that's what keeps them in games. So if they have a shot against Texas, it's not going to be through the air. It's not going to be through their offense. It's not going to be in a shootout. No, it's going to come down to the grit and grind of their defense.